That
was awesome. Hi, my name is Jeremy.
My name is Therese.
We are today reviewing for MathomBooks the novelization of The Force Awakens by Alan Dean Foster, and here goes in 3, 2, 1.
Oops, can we do that again?
No, we can't. No. The Force Awakens, the novelization by Alan Dean Foster. Many of you guys probably don't even know there was a novelization. It came out the day of the film. It basically mirrors and mimics the film almost to the T, but there are some key differences. Some things that are in the novelization and not in the film. So it's kind of awesome to know that Alan Dean Foster was the ghostwriter for Episode 4, A New Hope, the novelization of the original Star Wars film back in 1976-77. And when he was later asked, hey, were you kind of bummed that your name wasn't on this book? That George Lucas got all the credit, right? It looks like he wrote it. And Alan Dean Foster showed a lot of humility, and he said, no, it didn't bother me at all. He's like, it was George Lucas's idea, and so why should he get the credit for it? He said, all I did was expand on some of his ideas. And his work, that original Star Wars novel, which, if you will, was the first Star Wars novel, set kind of a standard that never changed. Some of the things that he talked about in that book are still part of the Star Wars canon today. So that's kind of an awesome thing to know. This is the same author going all that way back. Alan Dean Foster is also tied to the Star Wars world in another way, which is kind of funny, actually, and a little bit ironic. He wrote the first novel, the actual first Star Wars novel, in 1978, and it's called A Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Now, yours truly has actually read this book, and it's not that good. And what's interesting about it is, because, again, this is back in 1978, all right? So just 1 year after the first Star Wars film had ever come out. So, yes, Star Wars was huge, right? That movie was a massive success. But all of this other stuff that we know about the novels and the TV shows and the other movies, and the books about the movies and all the, the millions of things, all the merchandising, hadn't all been there yet. It was still just kind of building up. And what was certainly not there was no Empire Strikes Back yet, and there was no Return of the Jedi. So Star Wars fans, all they knew about was A New Hope. That's it. That's all they knew of the Force. That's all they knew about Skywalkers. That's all they knew about lightsabers, etc. So when Alan Dean Foster, sorry for kicking you guys. So when Alan Dean Foster wrote Splinter of the Mind's Eye, he did so in some ways that just kind of showed that he didn't quite fully have a developed idea of where Lucas was going to go. And I don't even know if Lucas quite knew completely, because Lucas gave his okay to this book. A couple points on that. One I'll never forget, because I remember reading this book thinking, this just doesn't feel like Star Wars. And the first part is that in this story, they're looking for this crystal, and this crystal has like this, kind of like kryptonite, has power over Superman. Well, there's this crystal that basically gives you the power over the Force. As if there's a crystal that is more powerful than the Force. So you're kind of like, oh, okay, that doesn't quite make any sense, right? Because the Force is the Force. So that was kind of funny. The other element that I remember stuck in my mind that I was a little bit thrown off by, and which I don't think would be in any novel today about Star Wars, is Luke Skywalker in one scene. He lands his X-Wing fighter. He had been traveling, right, in his X-Wing, and he gets out, and it says that he had to reach behind the seat, pull out some luggage, open up some luggage, and dig deep inside to find his lightsaber, right? And I'm thinking, okay, you're going to be on your way to being a Jedi. Your lightsaber is the most important weapon. You would never let it leave your side. And so the idea that he's kind of stowing it away deep inside and, hunkered down, so that if he had to get to it in a quick little thing, he'd be like, hold on, guys, it's in my luggage. I'm going to go get it. It's like, I don't think so. Jedis always have their lightsabers ready and available. All right, so as we've mentioned, there are parts of the novelization that were not in the film. And let me just give some of my thoughts really quickly. And I talked to Tezi about this stuff before, or as I was reading the book. And it's this. I felt that there were certain elements of the novelization where Alan Dean Foster clearly had not only the script in front of him, but probably had even seen, they call them dailies, which are, basically he probably had seen clips, really clear clips of, pre-production stuff of the film. Because some of the stuff in the novelization is like, I felt like I was watching the movie and someone's writing it down, as it's happening. That's what it felt like. And so I think there were those parts like that. Other parts, however, were different. They were complete. The line was different. I told you the one, for example, when Leia, in the movie, Han says something to her and she just says, "Just don't." And he goes, "Don't what?" And she goes,
Anything.
In the novelization, he says, something or other, and she says, "Just don't." And he goes, "Don't what?" And her response is, "Don't try to be nice," or "Don't be nice," or something like that. And that's very different, if you think about it. There's a lot of different levels that you could talk about that on. Don't be nice, okay? Is he trying to be nice? Does she not? Why would she not want him to be nice? And that, I think that raises a lot of interesting questions. So, did JJ Abrams once have her delivering that line and they changed it, after the book had already been written? Or was this something that they just weren't sure about, or who knows, right? We don't know. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so you remember the scene in the very beginning of the Force Awakens when Finn is not firing his gun on the innocent members, the inhabitants of that village that all the stormtroopers are shooting up. And in the novelization, something different happens. What happens, Tez?
One of his fellow troopers says, "Oh, your blaster must have gotten jammed," and so that's why Captain Phasma tells him to turn in his weapon for inspection, so they think that it needs to be checked by technicians.
Right. So in the movie, it's not really explained. She's like, check your weapon in for inspection.
Yeah, put your helmet on and,
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of interesting. So there's more explanation as to why certain things are happening, and that's kind of cool. Is Unkar Plutt, he's the guy that quarter ration, half ration, that guy.
1/4 portion.
Nice, Tezi. You can tell she's seen it more than I have. He actually kind of has a crush on Rey. That's in the book and it's not in the film. But Rey actually sells BB-8 in the novelization. She changes her mind, but in the film she never even goes that far, right? So that's interesting, right? You get this little bit more of a coloring of these characters, which is really cool. So we're going to talk about a few more of these elements that are really interesting, how the novelization was a little bit different than the actual film.
And then about how strong Leia is with the Force. She feels the destruction of the Hosnian system where the Republic is in the same way that Obi-Wan feels the destruction of Alderaan. She talks about so much death and disturbance in the Force.
As if millions, I remember that line, something like, as if millions of voices were suddenly silenced. And Obi-Wan had to go sit down. So it's kind of cool to imagine Leia, probably you could imagine she was working, she was doing something, and all of a sudden she feels it and she has to go and sit down, just like Obi-Wan. That's pretty awesome. Han, when he's saying goodbye to Leia, when he's going to confront, to face, to see Kylo Ren, their son Ben, he says to Leia, Leia, there's something I've been wanting to tell you for a long time. And what does she say?
She wipes a tear, has a tear in her eye, and says, "Tell me when you come back."
And we know that he never comes back. So, as Tezi said, we'll never know, right, what he intended to say. At least we don't know if we'll ever find out. So that was pretty touching. And I did notice that the novelization does have a little bit more, because they just have that more, there's more space. A little more with the emotions, definitely coming out of that, which is definitely worth the read. And this is, this one's cool. So you remember when they're forcing Captain Phasma to turn off the energy shield? In the movie, it kind of you just see her doing it and you're kind of like, okay, she's just going along with it. But in the book, it's a bit more clear why she's so threatened to follow these orders. Chewie has his hands on her helmet And describe it, Tezi.
She says not even a Wookiee could like break a First Order helmet.
But Chewie begins to press it, and it's described, you can hear air beginning, like it's breaking. Like he could just crush. That's how strong Wookiees are. So, you know, that was pretty awesome. Moments like that, you're just kind of like, yeah, you know, for Chewie fans and stuff. So that was pretty awesome. And again, I kind of wish that had been in the film. Tezi and I had a moment when we were talking about planning this video. We were reading these, and it literally choked us up. In the novelization, right before Han is killed by Kylo Ren, there's this moment where they must have felt something or known, you know, that portend of evil, something bad's going to happen. And Han looks back at Chewie. And at that moment, Chewie had been looking back at him. And the two of them, they don't say any words. How is it described, Tezi?
Like they're setting off to do the explosives. And they're like, they know they have a job to do. But Han just looks back, Chewie looks back, and they don't say anything because they just know there's a job to be done. And they both have to do their part, and that's it. But they look at each other knowing that it might be the last time.
Yeah, so there's this moment that they have. Their eyes meet, and it's, you know...
Oh, sorry. Han thinks about how it's like the same idea that they both had, like different race, same idea, same like intuition to look back.
Yeah. Well, they've been like closest friends for 30-something years, you know, right, or longer. Who knows? I mean, really, 40 years. So yeah, that was pretty touching and pretty awesome. You know, it's great to see the story gets a little bit deeper. You know, you can delve a little bit deeper, which is really nice.
Kind of what Kylo Ren was feeling when he kills Han. So it talks about, from Han's perspective, Han looks into the face of what was his son, and there's nothing there, just darkness, alien face, like unhuman, unfeeling. And then from Kylo Ren's side, he kills Han, and then he like drops to his knees, and there's a part of him that believes that following through with it and killing his father should make him feel stronger, but instead it makes him feel weaker. So.
Which I think is great, and I like how they did try to portray this in the film. In the film, we know he gets shot by Chewie, right, by that powerful blaster, and this added element of knowing that you can imagine the doubt all of a sudden in his heart, in his mind. He just kills his father, the ultimate, you know, step towards the dark side to kind of seal the deal, and he thinks, I'm gonna, you know, you can imagine him wanting to be like so much more powerful even in that moment, but instead he feels weaker all of a sudden. And he's also shot, and that's why you remember he keeps hitting his side when he's fighting and he's bleeding. I can imagine he's angry and he's confused and he's just, you know, like, why me, and you know, what's going on. And so I think it's a brilliant kind of combination of what's written here by Alan Dean Foster with how they portray it in the film. Good stuff.
And then in the book, it seems like Rey has an opportunity to kill Kylo Ren, and she hears this voice in her head that says, kill him. And it's like raw, like pure vengeful emotion, unidentifiable. And she tells herself it'd be so easy, so simple, just kill him. And then she recoils from that. She recoils from the dark side.
We're going to go see the film again soon. My third time, her fourth time. And then we're going to be coming up, guys. We're going to be talking with Amanda K. Thompson and Jeremy Kramer, and hopefully his girlfriend as well. And we're hoping to get a nice conversation going now after the fact that we've seen the film a few times, and see how our thoughts and feelings are and what we've learned over these weeks now. It's been a lot of fun being in this Star Wars crazed world. As I put on Instagram, I said something like, it's not going to last forever. Enjoy it while you can, because these are fun times. Anyways, anything else, Tezi? Thank you so much for watching. Please like this if you like it. Check out our other Star Wars related videos. We talk a lot about books. And again, my name is Jeremy.
My name is Tezi.
We are Stockman214, and our booktube channel is MathomBooks. Thanks again.
May the Force be with you.